Hello and welcome back. All right, so we're still talking about repentance, really, and I've sort of, or I've tried to sort of lay the background, of how we need to approach this subject because we can't just jump into it without understanding why it is required, right? So we talked about the relationship between the conscious and the subconscious mind and how the subconscious mind retains information, right? So that's really the crux of the matter. Now, a lot of the things that we display as attitudes, as I've said, is a result of all the ideas that we have come to believe. And in previous videos, I've talked to you about how our belief system is built, right? So it starts all the way from the foundational idea, which is the precept. The precept is the original idea that was given to you. Whether was from your parents or your siblings, your teachers at school. The very first time you heard an idea, the very first time an idea was presented to you, that was a precept, right? Now, at that point, that information has come to your conscious mind. Now, when it is repeated constantly, right? I said it starts to be downloaded. The more you think about it, even if you don't particularly like the idea, but the more you think about it, the more it starts to take root, the more it starts to get downloaded. At that point, it is no longer a precept, it is now a concept. It is now a concept. And when it gets to the point of being a concept, right, it is now your main idea. When you start to meditate on a concept and it starts to build up, it forms into your ideology, and from there it goes to your philosophy, which essentially translates into your or which essentially manifests as your attitude, your mentality, right? Your mentality. And that is where your lifestyle is built. So, what happens, or what do we need to do? We need to ensure that we regulate the information that is coming from the external world. The point where we get a precept, we shouldn't just accept it, right? We should start to question it, because that idea that is being fed to you may not necessarily be correct. It may not be true. If when you went to school, your teacher told you that 1 plus 1 equaled 3, and you just accepted it, right? That is something that will be stuck with you, throughout your formative years, right? Until you get to a point where someone tells you no, 1 plus 1 is actually 2. And the minute you hear that, you won't just take it, you will start to argue with the person. Why? Because you have come to believe that 1 plus 1 equaled 3. So you now start to have, an argument with yourself, or with the other person that is giving you that opposing idea, right? Because you have been fed a wrong precept. The foundational idea was wrong, right? So whatever you come to believe, or what you believe, or what you think is not really the critical issue. It is whether the source of the idea is correct. If the source of your idea is not correct, then what you believe will not be correct. Okay. So I just wanted to emphasize that. Now, the question is, how do we deal with it? Which leads us back to the entire concept of the subject of repentance. And I said that repentance is not a religious word, even though it is mostly ascribed under the banner, under the concept of religion, particularly the Christian religion. We hear about, repentance. This person repented, I repented, they repented. But what we're really saying, or what we're really talking about under those circumstances, is not repentance. It is actually remorse. What is the difference between repentance and remorse? So let me describe remorse to you. Remorse is when you have done something bad, right? And you are confronted with it, and you have an emotional response, right? You start to cry, snot is running down your nose, and maybe you're rolling on the floor and you're saying, "Oh God, I'm never going to do it again." You are feeling remorseful, right? You are sorry for what you did. That does not mean that you will not do it again. And I'm sure that most of us can relate to this. I'm sure there've been many times, because it has happened to me, right? Um, I've said stuff and done stuff that I knew was wrong. And when I was confronted with that, I was sorry. But that did not stop me from repeating that thing. It didn't stop me. Why? Because remorse doesn't really solve the problem. What solves the problem is repentance. So, what is repentance? We're going to talk about that next.